Welcome to the show where we just feel more and more inadequate.
Yeah.
As the episodes go along.
Yeah. Yes. Welcome to Playback, everybody. My name is Nate.
My name is Brandon.
I'm going through it after listening to this album. But no, today Brandon chose easily one of my, already, I'll spoil it. All right, one of my favorite albums I've ever heard. I love
Really?
This is fucking unbelievable record.
Yes.
Brandon.
Wow.
That album is Currents by Tame Impala. If it wasn't obvious, sitting behind me.
Yes.
Yeah, Brandon. What is Currents by Tame Impala? And why did you pick this?
Okay, so
other than to hurt me.
Yeah.
To make me feel bad. To make me feel badly about my own musicianship and abilities.
Right.
Other than that reason, why did you pick this?
Yeah. But both Nate and I, but both of us are music producers, musicians, and engineers, sound engineers. And yeah, we were just talking right before the episode started that essentially what this show is turning into is just two listen, won't you please, audience, as two engineers just become progressively more and more disheartened and feel even more inadequate about their own abilities as they listen to album after album made by people who are just way better at it than they are.
Watch as they slowly stop making music and make more podcasts instead. I wonder why that's been happening.
Oh God.
It's because of this show.
So Tame Impala, Currents. So the band, the artist named Tame Impala. For anyone who is not familiar, Tame Impala is it's essentially a band that consists of one person,
Kevin McAllister.
Right? Kevin McAllister, who was one day left by his parents.
And then made an album all by himself.
In their home in Chicago one Christmas.
Yeah.
And was attacked by Joe Pesci. No, not really. His name is Kevin Parker. And Kevin Parker single-handedly makes all of Tame Impala's recordings. Okay?
Yes. Writes
all the songs, plays all the instruments on the albums, and like engineers everything and mixes everything. And then Tame Impala has like live members, like other members of the band who perform. When they perform live, they perform as a band. But what their songs are and on the records, it's all one person.
Thank God, by the way. I can't, it's crazy because I kind of can't imagine seeing this live without a band. And conversely, I can't imagine this being made with more than one guy.
Yeah, it really is one of the things that kind of makes it be what it is just knowing that you're listening to a creation by one person. Yeah. It sort of makes the experience of listening to it special, and it gives it sort of a depth and kind of a dimension of just like something cool that you're enjoying listening to when you understand that and when you're aware of that. You know what I mean? It makes it very intimate. Sort of like another example, and we'll get more into this in a bit. One of the things that I want to talk about later is just kind of this wider topic of albums and music that are made by one person. But like another artist that people feel very close to in that way is like Mac DeMarco, who also makes his albums all by himself, right? And so Tame Impala,
in a much more like lo-fi kind of way,
right?
But yes, you're right.
Right. And so that's one of the things that's very notable about Currents when Currents came out, which is that like okay, albums have been made by one person before, but they didn't have like the technical and production value that is like makes professional record producers and professional mixers like be put to shame by the quality of the technical work on them. Like That really is sort of unprecedented.
Yeah.
And
Mac DeMarco's a good comparison point because one, he's like a contemporary of Kevin Parker, but also it's like I think it's like it's almost like possibly by design his stuff is so lo-fi, but you know, it also it's like so inherent to like any of this like stuff made by one person is it's like it's almost always really lo-fi. Like you almost never get stuff like this where you're like, oh man, this is like fucking Dark Side of the Moon, but like one guy made it. Like this is crazy, you know?
Exactly. And that is one of the things that has really blown people away. When this album came out, it blew a lot of minds.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tame Impala already was a band that had really made a big name for themselves. Kevin Parker was already someone who had impressed a lot of people and gained a lot of admirers. But Currents came out in 2015, right?
Yeah, 2015.
10 years ago. And in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, I'm not the only one, this is one of the best, one of the most notable albums of the last 10 years. One of the most influential, one of the most admired, one of the most inspirational, like inspired a lot of other people who make music and who make records, and just had a lot of imitators.
Yeah.
And is just, so it's cool to hear you say in the beginning of this, which I hadn't heard you say before then, is this is now one of your favorite albums that you've ever heard.
Easily.
Right?
Like fucking easily. Like I'm bummed out, honestly, that I didn't hear this when it came out. You know, now it's not because of my usual reason, which is just that I sleep on like all new music that comes out until it's like 10 years old. It's not really because of that. It's because I was living in Spain at the time. I was just really, it sucks that what bums me out about that is there's so much about this album that was like, would have been it would have hit like fucking crack at that time in my life. Like,
yeah,
if I had
you were
heard
in Spain in school, studying record production,
specifically how to develop a project that I could engineer and record all of the parts to by myself, which is like something now that I've been doing for 10 years. But beyond that, even just like the like very literal, like, oh, I was like doing similar kinds of music work as this, and I could have really related to it and been inspired by it on that level. Aside from that, just like, honestly, a lot of the themes about like kind of growing up and getting older and maturing and like moving on, like that stuff for me at that particular time in my life would have been like just very illuminating and like would have really been kind of amazing for me to hear this album back then. It still is amazing for me. I just don't. I feel like when this came out, I was probably in kind of a very like transitional place, which is kind of what this album is all about. It's kind of about going from one state to another.
Life
changes.
Turning the page to a new chapter in life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Evolving into a new kind of person as a natural part of growing older. Yeah. And it's real. Honestly, I love that about this. I love that to me, I think it's really brave to write songs about, not even just brave. Brave's not even the right word because it is, but it's like, it's very smart to write songs about like lived experiences and like shared experiences that aren't just like love and breakups, you know? A lot of people and a lot of artists, they fall into this trap where it's like, that is almost the only thing they can think to write about. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's so much more to life than that. You know, like there's a lot more going on than that. And that being said, also a lot of the songs on this record are about love
that
and
stuff. It's
breakups
true.
and relationships.
It's true.
But like you say, it's not isolated to that. And even when he does talk about the subject of love and breakups and new relationships and stuff like that, it's more in the context of like a stage of maturity. You know what I mean? Like how, like sort of the way that you used to relate to dating when you were younger and the way that you're relating to it now,
right?
And stuff like that. You know, the way that the way that you feel, like for example, the song "Past Life." You know, it's like how different like unexpectedly seeing someone that you used to be just devastatingly in love with, enamored by, that like earlier in time you used to really feel like you would die if this person wasn't with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, unexpectedly seeing that person and just being struck by like the disparity of how you feel now compared to how you felt then. You know? So yeah, it's more complex than just, oh, it's about breakups. It's like, well, yes, it is, but there's more insight to it.
And I think a lot of that comes from the kind of thinking that you do when you are on consciousness expanding drugs. You know, and like I read about this, and it's like, you know, he made this in like Australia, like near like the beach, and like he'd pretty much like microdose like mushrooms all the time. And while he was making this, he would drink while he made this. He said that like just having like a few drinks would help him like get into like a flow state. So he was like kind of constantly altering his creativity.
He smoked weed a lot while he was making
tons of weed. Mm-hmm. And like in a way that I'm kind of like, I think is rad actually. Like a lot of artists, when you hear about
he smokes weed, wow, he sounds so cool.
Not just, I mean, just doing any substances in the service of creativity. Like, you know, so many albums that are made, and you know, when you think about them in relation to like drugs or substances or something, it's like they're done with like so much excess that it's like, you know, they're done to the point of like where like people start dying and stuff, and that's like pretty common, you know, with a lot of rock stars. Whereas like for him, you can really, you really get the sense that he was just like using it as like a creative tool to like open his mind up a little bit, to, you know, expose himself to some new ideas, maybe to shine a light on some aspects of his own personality that he was then able to show to the world via this amazing record. You know, it reminds me of, not to like jump the gun to quote corner, but like, cause I don't even have a quote ready cause I wasn't even preparing to talk about this, but it reminds me of, I saw this like Buddhist quote yesterday, and it was like some guy, I don't know who he was, but he was like,
Buddha.
It might have been Buddha. No, it
Some
wasn't, because it was a photograph. No, it was a photograph of a person. But he was talking about one of the best ways to like eliminate like self-doubt and anxiety is to like, one, like identify what it is that's giving you anxiety. Two, understand that like pretty much every like 3 years, your body creates, like every cell in your body has been like replicated and is like technically a new cell, right? So like it's like understanding your own potential for self-transformation and for change. And when I was reading that yesterday, it really hit me in relation to this record, honestly, because it's like that's kind of what this record's about. It's about like growth and change and getting older and all stuff that's happening to me, and it sucks, you know. But it's great when someone puts it in this banger record.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, and you know, this was a I think you used the word courageous earlier, and I listened to a couple, interviews with Kevin Parker here and there, and there was one which was very illuminating, where he was talking with Rick Rubin on. So Rick Rubin,
Those two seem like they would be like such buddies.
yeah, it's really cool to listen to them sort of nerd out on getting to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin, if you don't know, is possibly considered the greatest record producer ever, and or at least he's one of the most major ones. And he has a podcast, and Kevin Parker was on there, and he was talking about how, and we'll get more into this, but basically, allowing himself to write about these things and put this sort of musical space was something that he always had in him, and that he always kind of contemplated actually putting on a record and releasing. But he sort of always figured that it would not go well. It wouldn't be a good idea.
It'd be like too personal or something.
No, it was more in terms of either A, the music wouldn't end up sounding good, or B, that it wouldn't be received well by people. No one would really like it. And so
he does seem to me like someone who doesn't, I mean this with love, Kevin, but it seems like he doesn't quite understand what it is about his own music that people respond to so strongly. Like, I heard him say something where it was like days before Currents came out, and he was like, "It's still basically an unlistenable album," was the quote. And I was like, no, man, you're wrong, actually. It's like quite good.
I mean, look, we don't know what it sounded like 10 days before because he's literally the only person working on it. And another thing that he said in these interviews is that he's literally still like tweaking it, making little changes, and like recording new takes with new vocals right up until the very day that he presses export and sends the song away. He's still changing it. So 10 days before, it might have sounded very different than what we have with us right now. There might have been whole musical parts that are not the same.
Maybe.
But
massive respect for him for at least finishing it before releasing it. Not doing like the Kanye move. He's doing it right now. He just put out an album called Bully, where it's like Bully like version 1, and it's like his rough draft of his album.
Who Kanye is?
Kanye is, yeah. And I hate that shit. It's like, finish it. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to listen to the second version, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think Kevin Parker's in a much more cogent state of mind than,
you think? Yeah, maybe.
Than our old buddy Kanye is at the moment. But, yeah. But no, so it was an act of courage. So Currents is him saying, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to make that music that I have been afraid to make. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to do it. And that's sort of literally it, because it's really interesting to me how Kevin Parker seems to be like in interviews, he seems to be like very, what's the word? Like he's very he's very straightforward, artistically speaking. And I don't mean that to mean that there isn't depth to his artistry, because I believe that there absolutely is. It's just that he speaks about it in a very plain way.
Right.
Like a lot of artists.
He seems a little like elusive to me. Like a little. I
sort of found almost the exact opposite, because
really?
like to me, he stands in such stark contrast as an artist, say for example, like Prince. Okay. Who also, by the way, is someone famous for playing all the instruments on their own album. But there's such a, like whatever Prince's true thought process and artistic, process and story and like whatever the real plain true answer was to like, how did you come up with this? What's your creative process, Prince? You know, like all those types of things. The way that he talked and behaved about it was buried behind so many layers of mystery.
Right.
And even just the way that he would
And like
talk
stagecraft
to people about it. Right. Smoke and mirrors and stagecraft and all this stuff. That like even the way that he is in the interview is part of the artistry.
Yes.
It is part of the persona.
Yeah,
the
the persona.
It's all mystique. Exactly. And I find that when Kevin Parker is being asked questions about what were you thinking then? How did you come up with this? And all this stuff. There's no mystique. He has such a regular, very straightforward kind of way of talking about it, and even sort of understanding his own process as well.
I guess maybe what it seems to me is just that he is like being an artist. He is a very regular guy, it seems like, but being an artist and his artistry is so like imbued with him. Like it was so clear to me, even just reading not even listening to him speak, but just reading quotes, where I guess like the way he talks about like making music and how like, you know, like he said something about like music to him feels like seasonal, like it's like album season time for him. Like it's like his artistry is so like woven into the tapestry of his humanity, of him as a person, that it's almost like I almost can't really imagine it. And I'm a creative person, you know, like I do make stuff a lot. But for him, it's like he like lives and breathes and like shits this music. Like he really goes into a hole to like in a good hole, but Jesus. He goes into like a really crazy focused place to like make this stuff.
That's right. Yeah, he has said that when he can tell that it's time to make a new Tame Impala record, that it's sort of like a scary feeling to him, because he knows that process takes every last bit out of him, and that when he's done, when he's done making it, he's going to be like completely drained and used up by the process. Yeah. Yeah. So we've touched a lot on a lot of other topics that we will get more into in this discussion.
Yes.
You know, but it makes sense though that we couldn't even help it, because this is such a multifaceted album by a multifaceted artist, and this is very this album and this artist have a lot of admirers, and it's easy to see why. You know, there's like a small army of people who are just real backers and true fans and true believers of this guy, because he's like sort of a North Star for a lot of people who create stuff.
Yes.
And especially people who create music, because now more than ever, within the last 10, 15 years, music is more and more made by one person in their bedroom, right? And in a lot of ways, this album and this person, whether or not you believe that Currents is his best album, because a lot of people really don't. A lot of people, in my travels in the internet, it seems like most dedicated Tame Impala fans think that Lonerism is the best album, or at least their favorite one. And but regardless of which one you think, certainly the artist has been held up as like he's the best one of us bedroom producers, of us people who have got a song in our heart and a computer with which to make it. He's doing what we should model ourselves after him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So and so it really is a testament to what an accomplishment that Currents is so not only the musical single-handedness, but also you mix into it that technical single-handedness of this album, because I think that a lot of, I think that the general public of people, music appreciators, people who don't play music, I think that a lot of people generally do have a good understanding of the kind of work that it takes to get really good at an instrument.
Yes.
Where you see someone like Jimi Hendrix play, or Keith Moon playing the drums, or just someone who's just like a real virtuoso on an instrument. I think a lot of people do have an understanding for like how many years and how much practice and how much dedication is behind that.
It's easy to see because it's like a one-to-one thing. He's playing the guitar, and the sound is coming out of that guitar, and I can see it happening, and I can hear it. You can make all the connections.
And I've picked up a guitar before, and I can't do that.
And I can't do that, yeah.
Right.
Whereas, like, think what you're getting at, which is like doing this, making an album like this takes such like a mastery of so many various skills, and they're all like invisible, right? They're not something that people can like watch you do really. And it's not something that when you go see Tame Impala play live, you don't get a sense of like how he did this in the studio, right? Because even the live show is like an approximation of the record via 4 or 5 guys. It's not even really how he did it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I say that to mean that I feel that most people probably don't have a real appreciation for the fact that the heights of the skill and the knowledge and the practice that goes into being able to make recordings sound this good, that all of that is actually equatable to what it takes to be able to play and to be able to write the music that is on recordings like this.
Yes.
And that's why it's so incredible, because, a lot of the appreciators of this album have really like recognized that, what he's playing and what he wrote musically is astonishing and is of the highest order. But he may be a better engineer than he is a musician.
Possibly.
You know what I mean? The technical, the mixing accomplishment, just the turnings of the knobs and the deciding of, typing in all the numbers and which one to move, and all the technical bullcrap that is normally done by somebody else, not the crazy rock star who's doing all the drugs in the corner.
I will. You're leading me in early. You're leading me early to my first. I'm not going to call it a hot take. This might be a very lukewarm take. So I agree with you that the mixing sonically, this record is basically, you can't say anything against it. Like it is a remarkably great sounding record. The lukewarm take is, as good as the mixing is, which it is, I'm not taking anything away from it. Actually, for me, it's not even the most impressive thing, though. The most impressive thing for me is his arrangement abilities and his, like...
It's a lukewarm take.
It's lukewarm, yeah, because I'm not disagreeing with you on the mixing. The mixing's fucking astonishing. But
you're saying that isn't the most impressive thing that he put forward here.
Because, and this kind of leads in, honestly, because when you're talking about an album like this, so the Ableton-ness of this album is like inextricable from the music, right? The fact that he basically like used Ableton like from start to finish, like a savant of the program.
What is Ableton, by the way?
Thank you. So Ableton is what's called a DAW, a digital audio workstation. So just imagine it as like a program where you can edit all your audio, right? It's a lot like Pro Tools. It's kind of the same thing. If you know what Pro Tools is, it's very similar.
Basically, it's like, when you see in a recording studio and they have like on the computer screen all the lines, all the tracks that are of the different sounds and the thing. Yeah. That's the DAW.
That's Pro Tools. Now, the cool thing about Ableton is that Ableton is Pro Tools is very like it's very technical. It's also very straightforward.
Traditional.
Very traditional.
It's the industry standard.
It's the industry standard. It's a tape machine on your computer. You press record. You record your 100 musicians all at once. It's super great for that. But it's not necessarily the best for like writing or creating or kind of crafting a piece of work, especially by yourself. Not to say you can't do it with that, but it's just not quite as like user friendly. And when I was in college and I was introduced to Ableton and I met a bunch of like kind of solo producers, it absolutely changed my life, changed my music forever for the better. And, we're not endorsed by Ableton or whatever, although we would be if you sent us a check. But it is absolutely like, it is so friendly to the writer, the composer, the arranger, the editor. It is so friendly to anyone who wants to shape an idea, to come up with sounds, to try things, to just be creative. It's a wonderful sandbox for any musician to like play in. So when I say, it's not necessarily the mixing that is like the most impressive thing to me. It's kind of the more arrangement things. It's because when you're working in Ableton, it's kind of all one thing. Like, and when you're absorbed in a track, when you're absorbed in like creating a song in Ableton, just the nature of the workflow is such that like your mix, like if you were to, if a regular engineer was to, if Kevin Parker just handed him a Pro Tools session, say for example, to make this really different, and he was to hand this off to someone else, right? The process for mixing that material is so much different than the way you arrive at a mix in Ableton. In Ableton, it's this like, it's almost like you're basically chiseling away at the mix as you go, like little by little.
Right.
It's like
as opposed to the normal way, which is you record it all first, then you're done recording. Now let's sit down and mix it.
Yes, like
so
where
with Ableton, you are mixing it as you're
go.
Recording it,
kind of as you go. Yeah, like because it's all right there, and it's like you can basically make all these kind of like minute adjustments as you're going, and then you're like overdubbing over those adjustments you made. So you kind of want those to sit in like a pocket, or you want those to kind of sit behind the mix, or you can record with reverb, and then take that right off and put something else on. And there's all these like synths that are built in. There's all these amazing like effects that are built in, and it's all like MIDI mappable. So you can just map all these changes to MIDI controls. And you can really like, your song can start doing things on the fly that normally you'd kind of have to just keep in your brain as like, okay, this is going to happen later. Like I'm going to do this later. But it's like, it's all happening at once. So like,
you can just do it right now.
You can just do it right now.
And that can be, and that can be a source of a new idea. The fact that you are able to play around with the like, I think to me, probably the most Ableton-y aspect that you can really hear very evidently when you listen to Currents is probably in the first song, Let It Happen. There's that part where
CD skip.
Yeah, exactly. Where the beat starts to skip. Again. So
super Ableton move.
Yeah. So that's an example of the types of things that you can do where you're like, oh, what if I just chopped just this one little bit and just made this beat keep repeating? Right. So yeah, Ableton is made to be able to just do stuff like that in a very
fluid way.
Fluid way.
Yeah. Or like all like the envelope filtering he does. Dude, that is like day one Ableton, like first thing you learn how to do stuff, not to like disparage it at all, but it is like right out the box. That's the kind of stuff you can just start doing where you can like kind of filter sweep the low end out and kind of get into like telephone soundy world and then back. he does that kind of stuff all over the album. There, and like also like how clean all the transitions are. It's like you hear it. You can hear him going in and he's like trimming this up so that it all comes to like a big kind of loud cacophonous thing, like kind of collapses down into silence in a way that like only having control over all the tracks and like giving a fuck to that degree. Would you like do something like that, right? Like if you were handed to someone else, maybe that other person may not have that attention to detail or even be aware of it. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about those gaps of silence at the end of Eventually, right?
Yeah,
where it's just jamming dee-doo, and then a couple of... And
then there's like a single
silence.
Yeah. Then there's like a single snare hit that's like perfect. And then it's back into the track. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff you can do when you're
Very
fucking like,
Ableton-y.
well, it's like when you're just super absorbed into your music, right? And it's like the kind of minutia that you will pay attention to. And it's really easy to do in Ableton. This to me is like the ultimate, like it's almost like pack it up. Like there's nothing else we could do with the software. This is like the ultimate, like perfect Ableton record. It's amazing. And you know what's funny is like I was thinking about it, and I'm like, the funny thing is it doesn't sound like software synths to me either. Even though it sounds like Ableton, it doesn't sound software shit.
I think that a lot of the synthesizers that he used in here are real synthesizers.
Yeah.
The hardware synthesizers.
Yeah.
Currents is an album that is made by a dude who had just finished making Lonerism. So up until this point in his career, his whole army of admirers that he had gathered are people who are loving the fact that he's making this retro-styled psychedelic rock.
Yes.
Right? This stuff that is like totally capturing sounds from the 60s, totally capturing sounds from the 70s, fuzz on the guitar, these cool drum fills and like crazy bass melodies and bass tones and just like wonked out phasers and flangers and
like it was striking to me how much of like a callback it was to like literally like Sgt. Pepper's and Revolver and like Satanic Majesty's Request and like it was like
nailing psychedelic sounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on top of that, adding to the like uncanniness of like Lonerism, and what's the one he made right before Lonerism? There's another one
called Innerspeaker,
which I actually really liked Innerspeaker quite a bit. But Lonerism in particular, like adding to the kind of uncanniness of this like Sgt. Pepper's-esque kind of psych freak out record he made is the fact that he really sounds a lot like John Lennon. Like his voice sounds a ton like John Lennon. And I almost feel like it's almost on purpose, or maybe it was on purpose when he was doing that, because I don't feel like it's super in that zone on Currents quite as much. I feel like he kind of comes into his own on Currents a little more.
Vocally,
like it's kind of his own style.
Yeah, right. But by the time Currents comes around, it's now okay. Here's a new voice. Here's a new vocal style. Yeah.
His transition from the first two to the latter two is like such a perfect like example of the like what is it, like good artists? I always fuck up when I have to say a quote, but it's like all artists basically steal, or like first you imitate and then you innovate kind of thing, right?
I think it's good artists, like good artists imitate, or good artists take inspiration,
right? Great artists steal, right? Yeah. But it's not even necessarily that. It's like every artist, like you kind of start off, you have nowhere else to go. You start off trying to sound like your heroes or who you're really influenced by, right? And you start from that point. And if you can kind of exist as an artist long enough, eventually you'll kind of flower into your own thing, and you'll kind of bloom into your own sound, right? Which is what
try
Currents,
to hit the moon and you end up landing amongst the stars.
Yes, but you land somewhere unique and original.
Right. Your arrow misses what you were aiming at. You end up landing somewhere where you weren't aiming, but you land in the zone of you've made something awesome.
Right. And unique and like singular, that is like, doesn't like, Currents doesn't sound, I know I said Dark Side of the Moon earlier, it sounds nothing like Dark Side of the Moon. Like Currents truly sounds pretty unique to me. Whereas as much as I like the prior two, they wouldn't exist without the Beatles. They just would not, you wouldn't get that album. It would be something else. Like you just would never get it. Whereas like Currents, it sounds like a new thread is being like pulled from, you know, like it's like a new train of thought. Like that is,
dude. Currents in it could be said is sort of like a new style of music.
Like, yes and no. Like, I would love to hear your thoughts on why that is. But like, if I'm really being like critical, like of like what it sounds like to me, it sounds like, you know, there's like a lot of Daft Punk in there. There's some like, oh gosh, like maybe some like Flaming Lipsy kind of stuff in there. Are there's some similarities there? Like pretty few and far between though, but kind of all like in the either like kind of dance music psych world. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, yeah, I think that's maybe what I was so drawn to with this record, was that I was just like, wow, this is like a fucking breath of fresh air. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, because this is, you know, this is what happens when a person who has already mastered that, you know, kind of more outsider alternative sound, like a psychedelic rock, like a psychedelia type of a thing. Someone who's mastered that underground, off the beaten path style. Also then masters a much more sophisticated and constructed product where the like intended sound is way more specific and the margin of error is reduced, you know?
And like fucking, the other one I get is like Marauder, like just like Italian disco, like fucking all the way. Like one of my first biggest like impressions of this, when it like as soon as it came on, as soon as I started listening to it, I was just like kick on 1 and 3 and snare on 2 and 4. It's just like the never-ending gift to humanity. Like it just is like the gift that will never stop giving. Like it like just
you're talking
just
about
fat,
So you're talking about
kick,
in
snare, kick, snare, kick.
Yeah, one,
just
two,
a standard
3,
drum beat,
4.
right? It's just like the greatest fucking thing ever. And
kick on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4. Yeah.
Like, thank God that's not like trademarked somehow.
I know. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the psychedelic rock type of a sound, one of the aspects of that is that there's a very wide margin of error, so to speak.
Yes.
Meaning that
it can get sloppy.
But it's one of the features to it. It's not a bug. It's a feature.
It's one of the cool things about it.
Right. It is one of the intentional aspects of that style of music, and there are many others that share this, which is that washiness. You know, the paint, the watercolors of the paint bleeding outside of the edge of your brush as it goes along the page, is desired, and that's the
psychedelia. Yeah, that is the psychedelia you're looking for.
So this though is him is taking, already having mastered that style, but now taking it into a musical zone where that margin of error is reduced down to 0 or down to 1, where like there are razor sharp edges of musical paint being used here, right? You sound like you had something to say about that.
Well, yes, and because it's something that he said about it, which was like him kind of finding the psychedelia in other styles of music. Like he was talking about, I heard something about him. He was like doing mushrooms while listening to "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees. which is like, that is basically what this album is. It is like
doing mushroom while listening to cocaine music.
Yeah, doing mushrooms while listening. He said he was on cocaine and mushrooms actually, and he was listening to the Bee Gees' "Staying Alive," and he found that to be like a profoundly psychedelic listening experience, and like that is basically what this is. It is like a dance album, in the vein of like a fucking Billie Jean or like Kraftwerk or Bee Gees, or Daft Punk,
or ABBA,
sure, all that just like hard four on the floor, like kind of, just dance shit. It's a dance album, really, but it's just the themes and a lot of the textures he gets are kind of more evocative of other things.
Yes.
And like, not to keep going back and forth here between, I feel like we're kind of comparing his earlier sound to his later sound. But like, I mean, we shouldn't ignore also like, so I didn't realize this, but Lonerism and Innerspeaker were mixed and produced by one of my favorite producers, actually. And my favorite mix engineers is this guy named Dave Friedman. And he is like he is like the modern psychedelia producer guy, engineer guy.
He's the guy who gets the flaming lips sound.
He's pretty much like the guy for the flaming lips. I don't know if he's done a lot of their recent stuff, but like their big albums like Soft Bulletin, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, At War with the Mystics, those three in particular, they're just like, the production on those is just kaleidoscopic, and just it really just sounds like if like you could make paint distorted, like if you put a paintbrush through like a fucking Boss distortion pedal. Like, it's really beautiful stuff that he's able to accomplish. And so I was really surprised when I learned that he was the one behind Interspeaker and Lonerism, that I still kind of preferred Currents. Because I love Dave Friedman so much.
So Dave Friedman mixed Interspeaker and Lonerism. Okay?
Yes.
So but this is a really good point that you're making, because this really demonstrates like how big of a difference there is between an album being truly made by one person and it being made mostly by one person, but then mixed by someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of that thing where they say, like, to do something 98% takes this much, but what is it like when they say with like horsepower or something, right? It to get like 99 horsepower takes this much energy, but to get it from 99 to 100 takes like twice the amount of energy, or
like
something like that.
Exponential.
It's
amount,
an exponential thing, right?
Yeah.
So like the Dave Friedman, all that he did on Lonerism and Innerspeaker is the mixing,
right?
That's all. Everything else was done by Kevin Parker. Okay, he did the actual recording, the technical parts of recording the instruments, and played all the instruments and everything. But just the fact that it was then passed into another person's hands, and the mixing process is really where all of these very sonically altering choices are made, and a huge aspect of the finished product ends up being in that person's hands.
It's true, because when I was listening to Lonerism and then I realized it was Dave Friedman after the fact, I went back and listened to it again. And I was just like, oh, this is like so Dave Friedman. Like, it almost sounds more, maybe just because I'm more familiar with his work than Kevin Parker's, but like, it was almost more Dave Friedman than Tame Impala to me at that point.
Right. Because that just speaks to how much of the sonic identity of what you're hearing comes down to the mixing. Right. But
I also think, or at
least that it can.
It can
have that much of an impact.
But I also just think that, like, he was trying to do something completely different with those first two albums. And Dave Friedman was actually kind of the perfect choice. to like finish off and to like, you know, complete that palette for him. I don't think Dave Friedman would have worked on Currents. I don't think it would have. I mean, it probably would have been very interesting, but it wouldn't have been this clean. It would have been a lot messier, a lot dirtier, a lot more distortion, a lot more affected everywhere. It wouldn't have been quite like this. It wouldn't have been as like pop accessible, I don't think. It would have been really fucking cool, probably, but like I don't think you could have gotten to this place with someone like Dave Friedman, as great as he is.
So let's talk about then the comparison between Lonerism and Currents. Okay, because you know we already are talking about it. So when Kevin Parker decided that he was going to make, you know, Currents be the way that it is, have this sound as opposed to another one of the Lonerism sounds. He said that he thought that making non-psych rock music, making music that was, as he said, more clean focused pop kind of disco R&B music, he was very afraid that wouldn't work. And Currents was him just deciding, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to play it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to change my sound. And it was knowingly doing this. This was not, whoa, that's crazy how this album just sounds way different. I don't know how to explain that. No, he was completely aware of it the whole time. And he was completely aware that he knew that there would be a lot of Tame Impala fans who would not like it.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what happened.
I was very surprised by that. I was very surprised when I realized there was like a contingent of fans that were just like, "Oh no, I'm like an Innerspeaker guy. Like I'm like, or I'm like a fucking Lonerism guy. Like, you know."
Yeah. Yep. Currents is not my album. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, I don't feel the same way. To me, Currents is
fantastic.
one of the closest albums to my heart that there is, but it makes a perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Because if you identify with that sound that Innerspeaker and that Lonerism have, and that is the answer to your musical prayers,
this is a big turnoff.
Yeah, it's then you hear Currents and it would make sense that you'd be very disappointed, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on with Lonerism that is sort of like discontinued. That does not come back again for the next album, right?
Yeah. He does. You're so right. He drops that thread almost entirely. Like just the fact that he was like, I'm trying to find the psychedelia in disco. I can imagine a lot of fans were probably like, I'm gonna fucking blow my brains out. I can totally imagine that. But I think he's right though. I think his basically like his like thesis statement for this album, like he fucking nailed it. I think like he knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
And I'm really glad that for me, my listenership with Tame Impala started with Currents, because I might not really have gotten that deep into Tame Impala if I had started with Lonerism.
I didn't want to say that. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, that's just me talking for my sensibilities and my preferences. Because to my ears, Lonerism, it lacks that refinement and like the stateliness and the just so-ness that Currents has, which is one of the things that I admire about it. Even though the first song that I ever heard from Tame Impala that was Mind Mischief, that is from Lonerism. And so although the first time that I heard it was watching the music video for Mind Mischief. I don't know if you've ever seen the music video for Mind Mischief, or if anyone listening has ever seen it. So it was both how badass that song is and also the very attractive ladies butt that is in the music video as well probably had a lot to do with it.
Sick.
But something came over me as I was watching. I was like, I really like this band. This is interesting. But
yeah.
The songs on Lonerism are generally more of a meditation on one kind of musical zone, one sort of musical idea. There are changes in chord progression, but it's not super like stop this, start a new feel. There's not things that require a great amount of like coordination of, figures and moments that the whole band is doing together.
It's almost an entirely other really remarkable thing, which is that it does kind of sound like a band. It sounds like a band
kind of jamming.
It sounds like a kind of a sloppy band jamming at times, which is crazy considering one, it's not, and it's just one guy who's just playing all this. It really sounds, and I mean sloppy in like the best way, like sloppy in the way I play, like the way I would play something. Like it sounds very like free and open, which like in a lot of ways.
These are not negatives that we're saying, by the way.
No,
we've been seeing this a lot in the comments lately. Is that like when I say that something is like simple or like dumbed down or something like that, like you assume that means negative. That something is sloppy. That doesn't mean that that's bad or that that's negative. It means that it's sloppy.
It means that it's yeah.
Like a lot of the best music, art of any medium ever made was sloppy and should have been sloppy, and it was right that it was sloppy.
Yeah.
It's just that Currents is not sloppy.
Right. It's the
and Lonerism is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I use sloppy as like a benefit, or I don't know. I use it in glowing terms, and I really do, is because to accomplish that sound from one person, where he must have like played the drums and then overdubbed the bass and then played the guitar and then sang on it. It's pretty like, and it really does sound like four guys in a room. And it's also kind of sounds like the Beatles.
Right.
It's pretty unbelievable.
That takes strong skills.
Yes. And it's
to be able to pull that off.
And it's a whole like, I imagine it was probably a similar set of skills that he used on Currents, but really like accomplishing two like wildly different sounds. That's really hard to do, to be able to like be good at both of those things and to like be able to like accomplish both those things. Like
right. And that's why he knew that he was like making a style change. It's like, all right, I'm going to make my next album not like that, but like this now. I'm going to do a new thing.
For me, it's not like the style that makes me like Currents more. It's certainly not the mixing or production. I love the production. It's just really different. I love all that. For me, and I think I just need to listen to the first two more. I just think the songs on Currents are just like unbelievable songs. They're like Standout. Like it just sounds like there was more attention to detail put into like the songwriting, the themes, the hooks, the melodies. Like it's just, it all in all, just like it left such a big impression on me. In that, like I just, there's so much about it I can like remember. Whereas like the things and again, like I've listened to Lonerism like twice. Like the things I remember about Lonerism, even after a couple listens, is more like the more general sonic palette, how different that is. Like the technique was very different. It's more like a traditional psych rock thing. That's kind of my bigger takeaway. Not like, oh, this song, I have to fucking hear this again. Whereas with Currents, I definitely feel that way. I'm like,
yeah, and that's good because that's probably like the most fundamental way to boil down the stylistic identities and the differences between the two. Is Lonerism is an album which appropriate to that psychedelic rock style is an album of a vibe,
Yeah.
of a wash of a of just a palette there across this song, and it's just there across the whole song.
Right.
The way that Lonerism, like there are so many, the sounds are blended by smushing,
Right.
by cramming, and there are synth parts, there are vocal parts, and there are guitar parts that have similar timbres that are like sort of prominent and speaking in the same sort of sonic range as each other at the same time as each other, very often throughout that album. And quote time, Kevin Parker called Lonerism indulgent and everything is really packed in. And he said that is simultaneously what's wrong with it and what is charming and beautiful about it.
I would agree with the latter. I think that's what makes it what it is. Like kind of like they're like, and that's especially evident in like a lot of the best Dave Friedman mixes too, is like this like kind of overwhelming, like cacophonous soundscape, like where it almost like if you took each sound on its own, it would be like jarring and awful. But when he puts them all together, it becomes like this wall of like psychedelia that is part of the charm.
That's like psychedelia. Exactly. Yeah. It's a overstimulation. You're overstimulating your brain with a wash of disparate stimuli that have this like meta effect.
Yes.
Overarching now one singular effect on your brain. You know what I mean? So the Dave Friedman sound is use a compressor to a greater extent than most engineers have the courage to use it.
Yes.
Right. So he's using the compression both to an extent and at places in the signal chain that are classically taught as being incorrect. Like, not like the way that you're supposed to mix.
He's probably like the least transparent mix engineer like that currently working.
Yeah.
Like he's like because all these things we're taught to use like very subtly, like compression and or distortion or whatever. He uses all of it for color almost first and foremost. Is like it is supposed to like color and shape the sound that he's putting it on. And you're so right about compression because like so some of my favorite Friedman mixes like on the Soft Bulletin, it's just like the drums on that record are like unbelievable, and all it is like a huge drum set in a huge room with one microphone and the compressor turned like as hard as it will go, and that's like the drum sound, and it's fucking unbelievable, like it's part of that like kind of harsh, kind of cacophonous psychedelia that he's able to achieve with
it makes it surreal.
Yes.
Surreal, it makes it's enhanced beyond. So the drum and the drum kit sounds like a overly enhanced version of itself that goes beyond the confines of reality, of the way that we have ever heard a drum sound in real life, right? So it's sort of like the audio equivalent of when someone like does messes like with the color in a movie, like does like oversaturation or makes the colors be much more vivid than they are in real life to our eyes when we go someplace, and it makes it more exciting, more engaging, and if you take it beyond a certain level, it takes it into what is now psychedelic and now like trippy and like sending you on a mind bending ride, so that is the audio equivalent to that. So you have like other like musical features like on Lonerism, the drums are like he's like keeping time on like the crashy washy crash cymbal a lot of the times, keeping the beat on a crash cymbal instead of like on a hi-hat or something. The drum fills at the end of at times literally every measure.
Right.
Every measure is drum fill, ticka-digga-digga drum fill, ticka-digga-digga drum fill, ticka-digga-digga drum fill, right? And so, and by the way, what one song on Lonerism is the exception to all of this that we're talking about in terms of things being awash, things being crammed, there being no space. The one exception is the song Elephant. Dunga 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 dunga.
Oh, right.
Which is by far like the most popular song.
That's the famous one from that
the
record,
famous
right?
one that everybody loves from that.
It's so funny.
The one that is not
so
like
funny,
that.
and that's the single.
That's the single. So
that was probably the record label was like, that one.
Yeah. It's like, can you just give me one song that isn't like that? No. But okay, so you got that vibe. Now you go to Currents. Now in comparison, Currents just you press play on it and it starts. It just feels like like this like relief. There's like space. There's elbow room. You know, there are gaps in between sounds in Currents. As fat and huge as it sounds, in comparison to that psych rock sound, there's much more elbow room. And to me, I feel that like it better accomplishes that like taking a fucking psychedelic journey through the cosmos even more, because there's a better balance between being surrounded and being given space to float through space.
Right.
You know, like to my sensibilities, in my preferences, Lonerism is too oppressive. I don't have any space to float through outer space because like I'm just crammed in this fucking spacesuit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Lonerism,
Lonerism,
you
even get away from me. You know,
Lonerism, you truly are like cresting over like the corona of like a black hole, and you're like slowly being like pulled apart into like spaghetti matter. Like it's really chaotic sounding. Whereas this is more like, no, we're just floating in space, and it's cool. And floating in space is very nice.
But the afterburners are on. Like,
we're
the
flying.
Engines are on. We're flying. We're moving forward. That's one of the things that I love about Currents is like it is always moving forward. There's no, it doesn't get sleepy. It doesn't get boring. It doesn't get disengaging. It doesn't take a minute and back away from you. It's always next, moving forward.
I hope that we haven't given the impression that it is, because like let me say like emphatically, this is like a fucking hype dance record. This is like work out to this record. Go for a run. Fucking, you know, lift weight. Maybe not lift weights. Sounds very broy, but like go for a run.
You could.
Like,
some people lift weights.
like,
we don't,
but
but some people do.
You know, drive a car very fast. You know, these are all things I've done listening
at night through the city
with sunglasses on.
Yes.
Yeah. Wearing a scorpion jacket.
Dude, one of my favorite memories of listening to Currents is driving through so not Laurel Canyon. Wait, what's that canyon road that connects Malibu up to the 101?
Is it Mulholland?
Not Mulholland. There's another one. Oh, maybe it is Mulholland. But anyway, it's one of those windy canyon roads that connects Malibu to the valley. Wearing blue blockers. Okay, have you ever worn blue blocker sunglasses? They make the world orange. Okay, so you're wearing these, and you are just like a psychotic Miami Vice madman. Your state of mind is just like I am Scarface when you're wearing these. Okay, and just driving through this canyon, listening to Currents in like 2017 or something. It was like, oh my God, this is life right here.
Yes.
You know? You pointed out something earlier, which is that normally when someone makes a record by themselves, it tends to be very lo-fi.
Usually.
Lo-fi, by the way, you know, that's another buzzword that is thrown around in talking about sound and audio and stuff all the time. What lo-fi means is that it was recorded and produced with basic equipment, and thus having a raw and unsophisticated sound. So if something sounds like it was made with like a basic tape recorder with just a little acoustic guitar and some basic drums, that's lo-fi, right?
Yeah.
And that's typically what, you know, Mac DeMarco albums, and Paul McCartney made some of his first solo albums in that way, and a lot of other people have.
Yeah.
There's
I like that
Bruce
Brandon
Springsteen record, right?
Brandon is like the official like glossary of the podcast. He's you're very good at you always stop to describe terms and names.
But yeah, you know, I want these discussions in our episodes to be, you know, equally kind of I don't know, interesting for people who are coming from all the levels of familiarity with the terms. You know, if you're brand new to it or if you're an expert on it, it could be interesting. So, so normally they sound very lo-fi like that, but and that is essentially, it comes down to, it's because normally when a musician is making an album by themselves, it's because they're not as good at the technical stuff as Kevin Parker is. He's like a freak of nature in that way, where he's got that level of skill that a professional mixer and a professional engineer actually possesses, which is normally something that you can only accomplish if you have not been dedicating your life to learning how to play music. You've been learning how to record music, you know?
I do agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you or anything, but it is one of those things where it's like a good carpenter never blames his tools kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing where it's like, I wouldn't necessarily ascribe him as being like way better than like some of these other people who've made like kind of more bedroomy albums, or like artists in the past who we'll never know, like someone like Prince or something. It's just like, I wonder if you gave Prince Ableton and like a year to learn it, like might be fucking unbelievable. You know, like
it could be.
All I'm saying is that like he has access to like an amazing set of tools that actually everyone watching, you could buy it,
but
for
they
like
all
couple $100.
That is it, man. So does everyone else. So where are all of the other Kevin Parker level productions, right?
No, it's true.
And
You're
what
right.
you say is true. We don't know that these other people don't possess the skills, but what we do know is that they have never shown them. They've never demonstrated them. So, I you know, just from the musicians that I've known, you know, like even in our scene, you know, like one of the great legends of Southern California reggae and ska, Chris Murray, was one of the people who, you know, was way out ahead of most other people in being the one-man ska band who recorded his own stuff, you know, using 4-track tape recorders in the 90s. But and so just from these different people and my own self and my own productions that I've made, I know that like taking that route and going, hey, I'm going to make mine with a tape recorder is because that choice is made because that is the option that suits my level.
Mm.
That's the option that like I know that I can get a great result working with that, you know? But imagine if what your goal in your mind is to make an album that sounds better than a Steely Dan record.
Sure.
Okay,
Or I think more like
hmm.
Daft Punk. I would put he's
Right.
I have no doubt he like heard like the later Daft Punk albums and was like, this is kind of more his response to it, I think, than like a Steely Dan. But yeah, we're saying the same thing.
I'm yeah. The highest level of sound quality,
Sure.
okay, is like, even if you want to, almost nobody can.
Right.
Most people who are only engineers, who their career is that they're a mixing engineer,
Mm-hmm.
can't get this good of a result.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Professional mixers use this album as their reference to try to elevate their mix to. This is like the yardstick that they use to like, oh wow, there's some new stuff. Like I should study this so that I can learn from it.
Yeah.
You know? One of the really prominent aspects of the way that Currents sounds is what the kick drum and the snare drum sound like. So this is like...
Is there like a particular sample? Is he using a particular sample throughout, or is it just... Yes.
Good question.
Your smile says that I'm right. Or that there is something to that question. Or
No,
that there's nothing to that question. Maybe it's like a million samples. I don't know.
Well, the answer to is there a particular sample? Answer is no, because
Right.
these aren't samples.
Oh.
He gets these sounds.
Oh, he plays his own.
These
he
are
creates
real
his own
drums.
samples. Right.
This is the way that this man has mixed mic'd drums. These are not samples. See? Do you see? Do you see? I'm Francis Dollarhide on your ass right now.
Okay.
Okay. You see what I mean? Okay. The drums, the kick drum and the snare drum hit like a hip hop album.
Yes, it's like a train, like a truck hits you. That's how hard the kick and snare hit on this album.
That is also a convention of disco and hip hop have that in common. Like where the snare needs to live in the sonic landscape of this song, it needs to be so large and so prominent. Right?
It needs to almost have some of the same overlapping frequencies that the kick drum does. Like the highest end of the highest end of your kick drum frequencies, like let's say 120 hertz. You actually kind of want
for the main rumble part, yes. It also has the slap, but yes.
Yeah, like sure, yeah. But like the highest of the low frequencies in your kick drum, you actually want that to be the very bottom of your snare drum, like in like a good fat like disco or reggae.
Reggae too, yes, kick and snare. But and also too, vice versa, the kick also needs to possess qualities that the snare traditionally has too.
Yes.
Right? So, and I mean, dude, you can listen to Currents on a phone. You just put it like at low, medium volume, and you can so clearly hear what the kick drum is playing, right? That is
I'm amazed by it.
That's a disco hip hop thing. That's not a rock and roll thing.
So, okay.
These are not rock and roll drum sounds.
So you're telling me he went on a drum set and played along with this shit? This isn't him like playing, because the way I imagine him doing this was like, sure, maybe he had a drum kit and he just recorded samples or whatever, and then was in Ableton and just kind of like mapping it all out or something. Wow, that is pretty cool, actually.
He set up microphones and played these drum parts on a kit, and then he mixed it, and this is what it sounds like.
Huh. That's pretty nuts. That is pretty fucking nuts, honestly.
This is what I'm saying, Nate. This is the point that I'm trying to make. This guy's skills he's so much better at this than we are. He's so much better at this than we are, dude.
Yeah, and yet the frustrating thing about it is like he's literally not doing anything that we don't do.
So this is good.
You know what I mean? Like, well,
yeah.
we don't have a drum set, so we don't get to record drums very often. But
But we work with drum recordings.
All the time.
They're recorded by a different engineer and sent to us. But
all the time.
We're working with the same drum microphone tracks, raw tracks that he's working with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But that is kind of what is, I get what you mean. Like, it is kind of amazing because he does kind of have all the same raw materials as like someone like you or me, you know? And like, but he makes Currents and we make, you know, Christmas albums.
That's what I'm saying.
Ours is really good, though.
That's what I'm saying. And the other one-man artist, album makers make stuff on tape recorders.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And he makes what Currents sounds like. It's fucking unbelievable. Okay. So there's some really amazing stuff in just musically happening. Not even, you know, we've been gushing about the technical parts. Just forget about the technical stuff. Even if all this stuff was engineered by someone else, just songwritingly, what this is so tasty,
which
so delicious.
Again, is kind of like I feel like it's possible. I'm glad you're bringing this up because it's possible that like maybe what really hooked you, at least maybe initially, was like the Brandonness of this album, how perfect it is, how well it's mixed, how perfectly trimmed how meticulous it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me at all that you really responded to that. I also appreciate that, don't get me wrong. But to come back to what I said earlier, which I'm glad you're bringing this up, was that wasn't necessarily the thing that struck me as the most impressive thing about this album. It is still extremely impressive, but the stuff that was most impressive to me actually was the songwriting and the arranging specifically. Like his the way he brings things in and out, the way he where some instruments play this part and other instruments kind of respond, or like, you know, the sequencing of like patterns or synths or whatever, that kind of stuff, which I could understand maybe if people kind of think that's like, you know, like that's mixing. Aren't you talking about mixing? Like, not really. It's like his like choices of
that's
like
arranging and songwriting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the stuff that really stood out to me as like, that's actually my favorite aspect of this album is like the arranging stuff that he does. Like his choice of like synths or guitars or whatever.
Are there any like particular moments or particular songs that like,
well, not to jump the gun on like standout songs or anything, but like definitely like Let It Happen is like that for me. The first song is pretty much just like, it's the whole, I love first songs like this. It's the whole album boiled down to one song. It's like,
it's like a microcosm for the entire, everything that is to come. Yeah,
exactly. I would say that one for sure.
Wow.
Because
by the way, you're talking about great guitar sounds. What about that?
Is that not a bass?
I don't know what it is. It partway through the riff, it sounds like a bass. Then another moment in the riff, it sounds like a guitar. I don't know.
I have scoured
the internet to try to figure out, just to show some like clip of him in the studio of like how he made that.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Like okay, don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm not like a clueless dumb engineer guy who doesn't know how to make sounds, guitar and bass sounds. I know.
Clueless dumb engineer says what?
I know how to get a sound that resembles that sound.
Sure.
What I am mystified by is how did he get it to sound exactly like how it actually does, with that low growl harmonic that's down below. Like it has such a preserved fundamental pitch down below.
Can I tell you what, like off the top of my head, as soon as I heard it, what I assumed it was?
Yeah, sure.
Off the top of my head, and I'm sure I'm wrong, but off the top of my head, the first thing I assumed it was like a like a Mustang bass. I don't know why, but in my brain, I'm like, that kind of sounds like a short scale kind of Japanese bass played with a pick through some kind of distortion, and just like fucking straight into the board. Like that's kind of what it sounds like to me. It sounds like the closest thing you could get to a guitar sound while using a bass. Like while definitely, but I do think that is a bass guitar. I think so.
It could be, for such a Beatles guy, it could be a Fender Bass 6, you know?
Easy.
One of those things.
Totally. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could be some kind of baritone guitar, honestly.
Right. Yep, could be a baritone guitar.
I really like The Moment quite a bit. I would say my favorite ones, though, are...
Yeah, what are your favorite songs in this album?
Favorite songs easily are Let It Happen, The Moment, Because I'm a Man, I love... And I heard that song was kind of controversial, and I love that song.
Why is that controversial?
Because at the time, people thought it was sexist or something, and I'm just
like... Okay. Pause it. We're going to talk about Because I'm a Man.
And my other favorite one is just New Person, Same Old Mistakes. That's my last favorite.
Nice. Okay. Because I'm a Man. This one is possibly, for me, the biggest standout song. I am a person who would say my favorite song on this album is every song on this album, but if I'm going to pick one that is like so special and is like such a delightful song that I'm not going to be able to scratch this same itch by finding a song like this on anywhere else. It's only here. It's a very special song is Because I'm a Man. And it's genius in so many ways. Not only is it, just as a reggae lover myself and a reggae bass player, it's like the the drum and bass and the pulse, the rhythm situation in the song is very like reggae adjacent, which is hard to find.
Right.
But it is the way that it handles the entire conversation about gender is so genius.
It's very well done.
So the lyrics, it's portraying the traditional traits of heteromasculinity through such an overtly like androgynous and feminine lens, the way that it's presented. So first you have obviously the falsetto that he's singing in.
Yeah.
He's singing the whole song up here, right? And it's a song about, let me tell you, woman, because I'm a man and I can't help the fact that I'm a man. And he's singing it in a falsetto, okay, which is already like a B when you're talking about an A, like a black when you're talking about a white or whatever, you know what I mean?
Sure. There's a dichotomy there that is interesting.
The dichotomy. Thank you. The pulse, the rhythm of the song, like evokes like feminine swaying. Like it's like the way that like a woman's body would be swaying as it dances, not the way that a man's would be dancing. You see what I mean? It's a very like feminine lilt to it. So when you imagine the singer, the portrayer, this person who's singing this song is moving in a very feminine way, not like a Bob Seger, like do do ding 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 ding. Yeah, come on, lady, let me tell you something, woman. It's not masculine.
Right. You're right. You're very right. It's interesting though, because I completely agree with everything you're saying. But it is interesting, like listening to that song. There is, at the same time, a kind of like a swagger to it where it does kind of make you feel cool. And it's funny because, like, and it's so dumb that people, like, think it's, like, sexist because he's like, what's the chorus? It's like, because I'm a man, a woman, don't always think before I do, right? It's like, that's not, like, a good thing, right? He's not, like, saying, like this is awesome.
It's a confession. This entire song is, it really is to me, it's important to me. I will say, because, I've known ever since I was a kid, my entire life, Okay. I'm attracted to females. What the word that they use for it is straight, and it has never been my choice. It's not up to me.
Right.
I didn't decide it. It just is.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know why. I don't have an explanation.
I don't either,
just is.
especially when I'm standing right here all these years.
Right.
I don't know why
Look at this
either.
man candy that I have in front of me all the time. You know? And really, it's like I don't have an explanation for it. And one of the things that has always felt like a hat that doesn't fit that people have been trying to put on me my whole life is all of these things of like, oh, men are like this and women are like that. Men feel this way in relationships and women feel like that. And I've never felt that really fits because I can identify in my soul with so many of these things that are traditionally attributed to women.
Sure.
Oh, that's how women feel. Men don't feel that way. It's like, but what about me and all these other straight men who I talk to? I feel that way, you know, and all these, oh, men are like this. I'm like, I've had so many conversations with women who that's what they're like.
Sure.
Their personality is like that way more than me and all this stuff.
Yeah. You can't put people in a box, especially with fucking gender shit. Like,
exactly.
it doesn't work.
And again, even the fact that I identify as a man, that's like, it's not even like up to it. It just, I don't understand why. It just is. That's just how I feel. That's who I am. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love the lyrics in this song. Because I'm a man woman, don't always think before I do. Because I'm a man woman, that's the only answer I've got for you. Not often proud of what I choose. Not often proud of what I choose. A greater force I answer to. All this stuff. It's a confession of like,
I can't help the way I am.
I cannot help it. It just is this way. And it's so like, it's one of the first songs that I've ever heard that like really feels like, okay, that is what I have felt like being a man this entire time. Like that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And also kind of like, honestly, there's like a really dumb part of me that is like, yeah, man, sometimes us guys, we can be stupid. We don't think, but you know what? It's kind of how we can be sometimes. That's kind of how guys can be, you know, like it just is.
And it's also how people can be too. Because this phenomenon of thinking before you act and making a decision, but prior to thinking it all the way through, that is not unique to men. Okay. And the lyrics evolve toward the end to, he says, I'm a human for the Star Trek fans out there. What's the name of that game? Play Damjat Human. Okay. That's for all Star Trek first generation fans out there. But another aspect of this androgyny and masculine and feminine presentation of a masculine lyric that's in there is the double entendre of the lyric, I'm a man, woman.
Right.
It's on one listen, it's I'm a man, comma, woman. And if you take the comma away, it's a double entendre of saying, I'm a man, woman.
Right.
You know, like,
yeah.
Oh my God. Like man hyphen woman.
Right.
Dude, this song is fucking genius.
Yeah. As soon as I read some of well, I didn't read, but as soon as I found out that was kind of like a controversial song at the time, it's just like, people have such shallow interpretations of art. It's really bad now, like online. Like people will see a movie and a character in the movie is like, okay, for Anora, I saw this, okay, for the just won Best Picture, okay, and I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it or whatever, but it's a great movie. And it's like, it's a movie about a sex worker, and the whole movie, she is basically like mistreated, and she just goes through a really hard time, right? Mm-hmm. And there are people online who are just like, her like disgusting. This is like violence against women, and like, oh, this is horrible. Like that, like, oh, she was just like, treated like shit the whole movie. And it's like, yeah, it's a movie. It's a movie. Like, just because they made a movie where someone is mistreated, that's not an endorsement of mistreatment, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it doesn't make the filmmaker like a bad guy. Like, it doesn't make the filmmaker like he wasn't literally like abusing a woman. Like, it was an actress playing a part.
Right.
Like,
In movies that are meant to like convince people that war is bad, those movies often involve people being in war and shooting each other in those movies.
Yeah, it's not like yes, like Saving Private Ryan is not an endorsement of war, right?
And it was happening on the screen. There it is.
And yet it's happening on the screen.
Right.
There it is, right?
It's like, how dare you glorify this war?
That is kind of what they'll say, though. It's like, how dare you glorify this?
Right.
And it's kind of like, it's, what do you want out of your stories and out of your songs?
It's called media literacy.
It is. It is. It is being able to like take in a piece of music, art, film, culture, and being able to interpret it without it having to be literal. It can be, it's nuanced, like it can be a little, I don't know. That kind of stuff really drives me nuts because it's just like, man, he seems like a really cool, good artist, and he seems like his intentions are in a really good place. And he seems very like emotionally intelligent and deep as like a person, which is something, man. I think as a guy, I'd love to see more in like our art, that art made by men and men that we can like look up to as like a little more depth to like our emotional intelligence is like a welcome thing. Like it's kind of awesome.
There's so much vulnerability and bravery in this song because he is like portraying and putting onto the tape like the feminine aspect of his existence. Like he's allowing the feminine side of him to sing the song that is about how he's a man. It's amazing. Like the all the moments in the song where someone would go yeah or something like that. What is the vocal sound in "'Cause I'm a Man" in the drum fills? It's the
right.
That's him making that sound.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a man making. What is the little vocal throw out detail thing that he does? It's
yeah.
It's dude, this shit is genius.
Yeah, he's
this
very
song
smart.
Is fucking genius.
If we're talking about still favorite songs, I will talk about. I want to say interesting because I would say if I had to pick a song, it's crazy because I'm going to single it out as having my favorite lyric in the whole album. But it might be my least favorite song, even though whenever I hear it, it's not like I want to skip it. Like I love
least
it.
Favorite song. Yeah. What is it?
You're probably going to hate me, but Yes, I'm Changing. I don't know if I can actually say that's my least favorite, but it does kind of, for me, like interrupt the flow a little bit because it's kind of a slower song. And I kind of think the bass line is a little stupid. It's beep-doop.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's just very simple.
You're correcting what you said earlier that you are wrong. Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay. Keep going though. Keep
I will because I'm going to qualify this so much. I'm going to qualify. I'm qualifying this as being my least favorite song so hard right now because it's actually not. I think that my least favorite is one I can't really remember that well, and it's either Love, Paranoia, or Reality in Motion. I think that both of those two, maybe I just need to hear them again.
The Reality in Motion is the one that's the boom, boom, cat, boom, boom, cat, the boom, boom, cat, boom. I don't
remember it that well.
There's no one else around you.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty cool. That one's pretty cool.
That's Reality in Motion.
But I will say, funnily enough, if I'm going to single out Yes, I'm Changing, it does have my favorite lyric in the whole record, which is, they say some people never change, but that's bullshit. They do. Yes, I'm changing, can't stop it now. And even if I wanted, I wouldn't know how. I love that. Yes, I'm changing, can't stop it now. And even if I wanted, I wouldn't know how. That to me is like, that is kind of like the whole record is like,
Yeah. Like
summed
it's
up.
not even an option.
It's not, yeah.
It's not even like something that you can like hold against someone. Man, I can't believe you changed.
Right.
Whoa, like
I can't believe today is tomorrow now.
Yeah.
The fuck? Like, it's like, dude, that's what happens. Like,
yeah, like are you really gonna like say that like the course of nature taking that like the fruit growing and then falling from the tree is like, dude, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that?
It can't.
Oh my God.
This one can't be my
amazing.
least favorite. I think that Love Paranoia,
especially because the bass line is amazing, which you don't realize. But go ahead.
It's not. But I think it's got to be Love Paranoia is probably my least favorite. Mostly just because I don't remember it that well. Like, and I can kind of remember all the other songs.
I had that exact same thing. So I've been listening to this album for 10 years, heard it a million times, and every time that I come back to it, which is maybe twice a year these days, every time that I put it on, I can play them all in my mind, just looking at the title. Oh yeah, and I can sing along to it. But every single time, Love Paranoia, I can't think of how it goes.
And I do think that is a mark.
And it is a good
against it.
song.
It is a good song. I think you're right. But I do think that's a mark against it in an album
stick
that
in the memory.
Yeah, in an album that is like the whole track list is like they're all like very memorable. To have one that isn't that has to count against it in some way. Even though I have no doubt it's a good song, I just can't remember it.
It is a good
Yeah, and like Yes, I'm Changing is not a bad song at all. It's just it is very the bass part is very rudimentary in a way that's like almost distracting to me. I'm not saying it's bad or stupid or anything like that. I just think it is very simple and it's very slow, and it's a big change of pace when it comes up on the album. But it is a great song. I mean, it's fucking beautiful. It's a beautiful song. And it probably is one of the more memorable songs too. So like you're right. I can't say it's my least
talking
favorite.
yourself into it.
Oh, there are aspects of it.
The bar is that high on
It
this
is,
record.
yeah. And there are just, I guess maybe there are just aspects of it I don't love, but overall, like, love the song still. It's kind of how I would say. Eventually is pretty great. We were singing that before we started recording.
Yeah, because I was going to say of the ones that we haven't mentioned so far that I would count in terms of, in my opinion, the best ones on there. One is Eventually. That song.
Eventually. Yeah, that one's pretty epic. Was pretty illuminating for me. It was like you were right that it is kind of like the ultimate end-all be-all bedroom pop album. It is like it does. I don't know. I look forward to. I was about to say I don't know if you can do anything better than this, but inevitably in like 10 years there will be something else like this. Maybe from him. He's still making amazing music. Fucking honestly. I was really close to saying I liked the Slow Rush more than this.
We haven't talked about the Slow Rush at all. So that's the album, the only one album that he's made after this. What do you think about it?
I think we'll save it for the bonus episode. Suffice to say, I loved it. I think it's great. But I mean, my basic takeaway on that one is that like if you like Currents even a little bit, you'll like the Slow Rush because it's like just more Currents. Like it really that's what it is. It's just more of this.
The bottom line of my take on the Slow Rush is I think that it's another step farther away from the rock. I think it's further into the dance.
Yes.
there's even fewer guitars on it than there are on Currents, and it's the direction that he started walking to get to Currents from Lonerism. I think the Slow Rush, he's further down that road. He's further away from Lonerism.
I agree. For me, I really dig it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I'm really excited to hear whatever he does next. I think I said to you, I think I texted you earlier this week. I was like, what a great time to get into Tame Impala for the first time. Like, not only is there 4 great records I can just listen to whenever I want, but also I was looking up, I'm like, when's the 5th Tame Impala album coming out? And a year ago, he said he was almost done with it. So like any day.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
A year ago, he was like way deep into like making it already. So like,
oh, cool. Okay.
So I'm like, now I feel like any day. It's been 5 years since the last one.
Okay, we're recording this at the end of March, right? Yeah. Time of recording. This is going to come out, I don't know, sometime in like April or May, something like that. How friggin' lucky would we be if the album drops like right around the time when our
we're set
episode? But yeah, we might get like an extra like 60 streams,
60 views
on our 60 views.
Except it would be like horrible timing because we wouldn't be talking about his new album. We're talking about these old ones.
That's right. I'll talk about this album anytime, any day. I love it. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, great pick, Brandon. Was super impressed with your way to out-Brandon yourself with every pick. It is becoming more and more Brandon. I don't know if we can get more Brandon than this, though. So now you're in a corner.
This might be the most Brandon album.
Such a Brandon album.
Yeah, man.
But I love it. I love a good Brandon album. They are typically amazing. As what you're into, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like things that are amazing. That's my bag.
Yes. So for anybody who wants to hear more of our talk on Tame Impala, we're about to do a bonus episode over on Patreon, patreon.com/blackmarketdub. You can get ad-free episodes over there on Patreon. You can get bonus video episodes over there on Patreon. We also do like a companion blog where we pick 6 additional albums that may or may not be by the same artist to kind of give you a little context, a little extra kind of thoughts and extra music for some extracurricular listening that will kind of add to why we picked something like Tame Impala or Black Moses or any of those. So that's been really fun too. Patreon's been going really great. It's I'm really excited about everything we're getting up to over there. So yes, please go over to patreon.com/blackmarketdub for more of this shit. And we're also a band. We are a band called Black Market Dub. All the music you hear featured in this episode is our music, albeit dubbed and kind of weirdly manipulated by me for the purposes of this show. But you can find all kinds of really fun music over on our Bandcamp page at blackmarketdub.bandcamp.com. We have all kinds of fun stuff: Halloween music, pop song remixes,
reggae versions.
Also, it's all reggae.
We make the reggae music.
Yes, I forgot. I buried the lead. It's a reggae project. So yeah, tons of more stuff. Go to our links will be in the description of the episode. Just click them. Click it.
Right.
Go click it.
I think this one final thought that I have
Let's hear it.
Currents is this music, this album is what Kevin Parker had been holding back.
Mm-hmm.
And he possibly almost did keep himself from making it, just out of concern and just out of fear of whether it would go well or whether it would be received well. And that, from a certain perspective, that could be a lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
Which is like, who knows how beautiful what it is that we're holding back could be
True.
if we let it out. You know?
True. Well said. Totally agree. And with that, Brandon, do you have any final words?
I do.
Oh my God.
All right,
does.
everybody. I will leave you with this. My words to Nate. I wish I could turn you back into a stranger.
Oh my God. He's being truthful too. He's not lying. He's not lying.
All right, everybody. We love you.
Bye.